All right, Sadie, American Horror Story Season 6 is finally here, and I think it's fair to say it wasn't what anybody expected. We're going to get into spoilers in a second, but you've been fan of the show, watcher of the show for a good long while, so you're very familiar with it. Based on one episode, what do you think about how they changed everything up?
I think the worst thing that anything in the horror genre can be is predictable. So, I really applaud Ryan Murphy for doing something that I don't think any of the fans, and certainly myself, saw coming. I think that's really impressive 6 seasons in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what they were going with. But let's actually dive into what it was. Let's put up that spoiler alert right now. There we go. Hello, spoiler alert. Hi. So instead of the typical horror show story format, it was a story within a story. It was a documentary with a bunch of talking heads. How'd you feel about it? And for those who didn't watch it, break it down.
I loved it. The whole episode kicked off right away with this fake show, My Roanoke Nightmare, with half the cast doing these straight-to-camera confessionals, and then the other half of the cast actually playing those characters in sort of cheesy reenactments. And as a fan of those shows in real life, I thought this was really fun and unexpected. I have no idea where it's going.
Right. I think I was watching Twitter during the episode, and I think a lot of people thought this was going to be the format every episode, that we were going to have a different mystery that got delved into, like some sort of ID show or true TV show or something like that. But clearly not. It's ongoing. So by the end, everybody had that very typical American Horror Story reaction of, huh? What's happening? But that said, it tied into a bigger mythology with Roanoke and Croatoan. What exactly is going on there? There's a bunch of weird guys that showed up at various points. Sadie, you're our historical expert, dressed like a pilgrim, so explain it to us.
Yeah, I like to go with the theme, even though Ryan Murphy clearly didn't this season. But for those who don't know, the Lost Colony of Roanoke was basically a group of 117 settlers who completely just disappeared in 1590. No one knows what happened to these fine folk right here. The only clue was the word Croatoan carved into a tree. And we knew this was coming this season because TMZ had leaked set photos, but I don't really know what to make of it. It looks like these ghost pilgrims are haunting the Roanoke area now.
Yeah, well, I think we'll talk a little later about exactly what's going on at the end of the episode. But this also ties into previous seasons, right? Croatoan and Roanoke have shown up before.
Yeah, in season 1, Billy Dean Howard told Violet this whole story about how all the settlers had died and a Native American chief banished them from the area using the word Croatoan. However, when Violet tried to use the same spell on Zachary Quinto's character, it didn't work. And so, based on last night's episode, I don't think it really worked that well the first time either. They definitely still seem to be around.
Yeah, I think at the very least somebody needs to tweet at Sarah Paulson and be like, just shout Croatoan at them, see what happens. Let's talk about fave moments, because there were so many crazy, ridiculous, over-the-top moments, of course, in this episode of American Horror Story. My favorite, without a doubt, was the tooth rain. So Sarah Paulson hears something outside. She looks out the window. She's like, oh, it's hail. They mentioned there were hurricanes in the area. Let me go outside and check out what exactly is going on. Let me see what's happening here. And it turns out it's raining teeth.
I loved it.
Oh, I laughed out loud when this happened. I thought this was maybe it was supposed to be crazy, but I thought it was really funny and ridiculous and an awesome visual.
It's like my dream. I have a weird obsession with teeth. So if it rained teeth, I would be out in the yard scooping them all up.
Oh God, Sadie, let's stop doing the show immediately. Well, let's talk about your favorite moment, which is another super creepy moment that there's a lot to delve into with. He's not called Pigman.
Piggy Man.
Piggy Man.
I love Piggy Man. He's so weird and unnecessary, and I don't know if this is actually going to go anywhere. But he seems to be stalking them from the shadows, and then Dennis O'Hare was previously hunting him down on an old VHS camera.
Yeah, just to mention, if you guys go back to the beginning of the episode, right before they put up the American Horror Story title at the beginning, you can kind of see some sort of figure checking out Sarah Paulson and Cuba Gooding Jr.'s characters, and we think that's Piggy Man. We're pretty sure that's Piggy Man, though we don't know yet. Could be Lady Gaga. Who knows? Definitely this is one of the aspects of the episode that doesn't seem to connect yet, and maybe it never will.
I really don't know with this show. Sometimes there are the plots like Anne Frank and the lobotomy that really don't go anywhere or mean anything, but are kind of just like fun for a couple episodes. And if there's a guy running around with a pig head only for like 2-3 episodes, I'm cool with that.
Oh, that's great. You're very open. I like that. Let's talk about one last thing. Again, this is something that was kind of surprising to see, but there were a bunch of wood figures hung first around the house, and then in the last scene, these are the figures from Blair Witch, right?
This is straight up, they wandered into the set of the Blair Witch Project, and then during commercial breaks, they actually showed an ad for the Blair Witch movie, I think. It was either genius product placement or we're gonna get some weird connections to old school witchcraft. I have no idea.
So what I wonder if this in any way ties into the whole TV format thing that's going on with it, that because there is the show within a show, maybe the makers of My Roanoke Nightmare are using imagery from other horror movies to remind us of stuff, but that's just me maybe giving them too much credit and they just ripped off Blair Witch. I don't know.
Maybe in this world, the Blair Witch is real.
That would be amazing. I would love that. All right, well, let's talk about that ending. We teased this before, but in about 2 minutes, a couple of crazy, insane things happened to Sarah Paulson. She ran over Kathy Bates with a car. For some reason, followed Kathy Bates into the woods, even though she was a pilgrim ghost or whatever. The ground started shaking. A guy ran up screaming, scalped, and then a bunch of pilgrims showed up.
And Wes Bentley.
Oh, and Wes Bentley. Well, I think he was one of the pilgrims. He was tied to the pilgrims, maybe?
He's like the pilgrim leader.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what do you think's going on here? What's happening? You have
I have
theory.
theories.
Yeah.
I have so many theories. So before the season aired at all, Lady Gaga said her character was very grounded and connected to the earth. So I'm like 99% sure that like she was the earth breathing there. She's some sort of like
God, that's so creepy.
goddess or spirit.
Don't look, Sarah Paulson.
But yeah, I think she's some sort of like earth spirit or monster that like actually gets to like sort of be earth and also a demon, and maybe that's who the pilgrims are worshiping.
And that's why the ground is shaking and everything. Well, there was a promo that was released for maybe next week's episode, maybe a couple of episodes. Like everything else with American Horror Story, we have no idea exactly what's going on. But there's a quick shot, I think, right after there. Oh, I'm standing in front of her.
Sorry,
I was right in front of her.
That was Gaga, I promise.
Yeah, but next to Kathy Bates in that shot was a lady covered in dirt, and everybody thinks she's Lady Gaga, which would back that theory up a lot.
You can also see in this trailer really quickly the sort of pilgrims spit roasting a piggy man. And so we think, or I think at least, that maybe that's sort of part of their ritualistic sacrifice, but maybe Piggy Man is both like a victim of the pilgrims, but also like a possible friend.
So you think maybe Piggy Man is a friendly ghost?
I don't know. I think maybe the guy who got scalped, they like threw a pig's head on him and are killing him. But maybe there's someone else who's also Piggy Man who like hates the pilgrims.
Here's what I
don't know. I want him to be the hero. He's my favorite character.